For our A2 coursework, our task was to create a short film of the genre of our choice, which will be 5 minutes long. We also had to produce advertising for our film, which consisted of a film poster and review. Before we were able to start brainstorming ideas, we felt as though it would be beneficial to research the codes and conventions of a short film in general. I found out that there are usually up to 4 characters, a maximum of around 3 locations, an easily understandable narrative and plot twist, and has a duration of around 5 to 40 minutes. This short film can also be of any genre, so in this case we chose horror. My research for short horror films, I focused on the films I Heard It Too, Moonlight Man, Under the Stairs, and No Face. Horrors, I put my attention towards the 4 micro elements: sound, editing, mise-en-scène, and camera angles and movement. These are also what forms the macro elements, which are genre, narrative, audience, and representation. By looking at these media products, I am able to gather influences that I would then like to portray in my own product. For example, Moonlight Man. In this horror, we see that the innocent protagonist is being targeted and terrorised. By having a female as the protagonist is a typical stereotype used in a majority of horror films, such as the famous horror film Scream. This is due to the women typically being known in society as being weak and naive, therefore being the perfect actress for the part, as they must show they are scared. Sound. I liked the use of sound embedded into the short film Moonlight Man, as they were used where it was appropriate. For example, at the very beginning when she is walking down the street, there is no suspenseful non-diegetic music, which makes the audience feel more relaxed, as it indicates that nothing bad is happening yet. When it jumps to a shot of a strange figure in the distance, the addition of discomforting high-pitched music, which is caused the audience to feel uneasy. This is a strategy that I decided to make use of in my own media product. Another aspect that stood out when creating our horror was that at the beginning of Moonlight Man, the woman is walking down the street alone to her car late at night. To emphasise the idea of her being alone and isolated, only diegetic sounds were added, such as sound of her heels on the pavement. Isolation is a popular theme used in horrors, and it causes many people to feel instant discomfort. In short horror films, they generally have minimal dialogue throughout, according to the short horror films I have analysed, such as Moonlight Man, Under the Stairs, No Face, and I Heard It Too. This can portray the theme of isolation and how the protagonist is on her own. This was a strategy we definitely wanted to use to make our short film as professional as possible. Camera angles and movement. Another aspect I noticed when analysing Moonlight Man was that in the point of view shot, followed after the mid shot of her walking, the protagonist is revealed straight away. This is very early on into the film, which is another inspiration we gathered for our own. The antagonist they included in Moonlight Man was similar to the antagonist created for my media product, in the sense that he is not always there. The antagonist magically disappears, moving from place to place, and eventually appears, capturing the protagonist. The shots used in No Face were also similar through the use of exterior shots, which portrayed the antagonist's point of view into the house watching the girl. After seeing this, I took it upon myself to include this in my own media product, as it is a popular convention used in horrors to cause discomfort amongst audiences due to the sense of the unknown. Editing. The editing I used in my short film were glitchy effects, which connote the sense of supernatural evil and disorientation. This can portray the genre of the film as being a thriller horror. In all short films, continuous editing is present. The reason for this is because short films only consist of a short amount of time. Therefore, continuous editing means that the shots will need to be in linear order and will make the plot easy to follow. Any other complex editing added can confuse the audience and cause them to lose interest. Jump cuts have been used in the film also to show a range of shots which are all relevant to the story. For example, shots following the girl and then jump into an exterior shot of the house. This emphasised the idea of her being isolated and on her own. Mise-en-scène. The mise-en-scène is an important element involved in films, as it immediately portrays the type of genre through the use of costumes, props, lighting and the setting. The setting I've used for my short film is a large house, which is a very common location involved in horrors. Not only is it a popular location, but everyone is familiar with a house, which results in the audience feeling as though the horrible events occurring in these horrors could possibly happen to them, therefore increasing the scare factor. For example, I Heard It Too and No Face are both set in houses, which makes the audience feel discomfort, as home is seen as the safest place to be, but horrors go against this idea. The lighting used was dimmed and subtle in the house due to it being dark outside. We wanted there to be light in the house so that the audience will not be able to clearly see out of the windows. This then causes discomfort amongst the audience due to the sense of the unknown and the use of reflections. From focusing on all of the short horror films, a very large majority of them have dark and dingy lighting. An antagonist that I found looked very familiar to mine was in a short film I encountered on YouTube called No Face. The two costumes were extremely similar in the use of black tracksuit with a hood up and a white mask. I feel this is a more modern approach to creating horror and targets a young audience, as this is stereotypically what some dangerous people wear. It can also connote the idea of youthful generations being troublemakers. This is beneficial due to research showing that teenagers and young adults watch horror films the most. I was mainly influenced to use a white mask and black clothing from the famous horror film Scream, which was a huge success and went further, making 3 more. The props used in the horror, which I noticed, were a cup of tea, which is used in the short horror film Under the Stairs. This is well known in the making of horrors, as this portrays the stereotype of young female protagonists being naive to danger. We also made use of a mobile phone which emphasises how naive and unaware the protagonist is, as she is texting whilst being stalked. For my A2 coursework, we also had to create a poster advertising our short film. My poster mainly consisted of black, white, red and blue. These are typical colours found in most horror posters due to what they connote, such as black representing death, red relating to blood and white showing innocence and purity, which would be the protagonist. The blue is used to create the look of a glitch, which I thought was a good idea due to how Grimm appears and disappears throughout. The part that is most eye-catching on my poster is the face, as it's brightly coloured. This shows audiences to become aware instantly that this is a horror film. In other short horror film posters, the face is displayed on the poster, also such as the short horror film Smiley Man. Another eye-catching aspect on my poster is the black figure, which I found used for the short horror film Moonlight Man. This is a good feature to use as it displays the unknown and mystery. The title is central to allow it to be one of the first elements of the poster seen by the audience. The font and colour I have used portray death and discomfort relating to the antagonist Grimm. The credits I have used are placed beneath the title. I was influenced by many other short film posters, including horror ones such as 11, 12, 13 and Apartment 41. This enables the main title to still catch the audience's eye first instead of the credits. In research, I have also noticed that all credits all over the world are small to prevent standing out too much. For my film review, and after looking at many published review magazines, especially at the layout and audience, I decided to use a magazine called Empire as a template for my own. This is a magazine which targets younger generations and is quite informal. The colours used are simple, with the colours being black, white and blue. There is a picture and a caption in the corner, with details such as actors, directors, etc. to the left, which I have put in a blue font just like Empire magazine. The title is large and bold, with its star rating clearly shown next to it. Lastly, I've included 2 subheadings, which I've seen on many of Empire's articles, are the titles Plot and Verdict. In the plot, I have briefly explained what happens in the film, and the verdict, I have stated my final thoughts.